today we're gonna study Unit 1, Great Invention, and the topic we are gonna study is sun swallow. So basically, what are we gonna study in it? So just have a quick summary. Sun swallow is sent into the air to meet the audience's ancestor spirits, but upon reaching the sky he gets sick, and his vomit is felt as if the ancestors are returning, which wasn't reality. So his cousin helps him to answer the questions of the audience about the ancestors when he reaches ground by pretending to be translating the ancestors' talks to get him out of trouble. So this is the main idea or the thing we are going to study today in this topic, sun swallow. So let's start. The circus master calls the children together and told them to run through the town shouting out that the circus had arrived. Gradually figures emerged, very suspicious. They stared at the acrobats with blank bewilderment, as if to say, "What are they doing? What is it for?" The conjurer was greeted with murmurs of demon. When the trick riders appeared, the audience reached for the young and made as if to take them safely home. The circus master strode to the center of the square, signaled for the riders to withdraw and raised his voice in an announcement. "I bring you now sun swallow, who rides the wind, who soars with the birds, who can travel among the spirits of your ancestors." Still the crowd was silent, but now it was another kind of silence, stunned, watchful. The kite with sun swallow strapped to it was hurried into position. Quickly the circus hands threw sun swallow into the air like a ball tossed to amuse a baby. And, like a baby, the crowd was suddenly enthralled. They did not grin or break into an applause. Their faces were serious. As they looked up, dozens of caps fell onto the ground, unnoticed. The circus master breathed a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, high in the sky, the turbulence around sun swallow was fearful. A torrent of wind flowed like the river below. The lining of his stomach seemed to him to be screaming, and it was a long time before he realized that the noise came from the bamboo howlers attached to the kite, a desolate, ghostly howling, which seemed to echo of the doom of the sky. It was a dismal, mournful, supernatural noise. The people on the ground heard it. They listened, heads up, hands straight to the lucky charms around their necks. They thought they were hearing the voices of their ancestors when 200 feet above them, sun swallow was sick. They thought they were seeing the ancestors take on material shape and drop in among them with a splash. At the end of his flight, although he was nauseous and miserable as the ropeman reeled him in, sun swallow saw that something odd was happening far below him. The crowd were all running towards the hill where he was to land, surging around the ropeman and snatching at the rope. Were they angry with him for being sick on their heads? They were all shouting, faces jostling as close as frog spawn, every mouth open. He struggled to separate words from the general hubbub as they pressed forward with questions about their ancestors. "Did you see my mother? Did great-grandfather Zion give you a message?" Finally, the spectators caught sun swallow out of the air with reverent hands, convinced still further by his white face and stained clothes that he had indeed been among the spirits. They pressed around him in such numbers that none of the circus hands could reach him to cut him free, and he remained spread-eagled on his back, pinned down by the hysterical crowd as they demanded more information. "Did Hopefully Young poison my chickens? Who did Chang want to inherit the business?" Then the circus master's whip cracked. The people stood stock still, eyes wide, silenced. "If you would be answered, let sun swallow speak," he declared in the tones of an emperor. But sun swallow did not speak. Sun swallow had nothing to say. He opened his mouth, but all that came out was, "I'm sorry, But what was he supposed to say? He had seen no spirits, spoken with no spirits. He looked to the circus master for help, but his frown merely urged him to say something. Anything but. What was he supposed to say? Suddenly a high emperor's voice cut through the tense atmosphere. The spirits speak a language all of their own. The dialect of heaven is not the dialect of earth. My messenger does not speak the tongue of the spirits, but I, tongue of fire, will translate for you. It was my Peng, Sunswallow's cousin, speaking from the crest of the hill, her figure a dialect against the sky. Come here, Sunswallow, and tell me what you heard. Sunswallow scrambled free of the kite and made up the slope to join her. Panic-stricken, he stood on tiptoe to whisper in her ear. I didn't hear anything. The ancestors of this place rejoice in their children and their children's children. My Peng's voice came out so loud that Sunswallow almost jumped out of his wits. But there wasn't anything there, he whispered desperately. They say that the time of great peace is coming, but that there is danger in the river. My Peng continued. I was sick. Honor the gods with 1,000 lanterns and do not drink from impure waters, my Peng announced, and then concluded. These are the words of your ancestors. The crowd stared. They made kowtow and fell back, overwhelmed and astonished. The acrobats began their tumbling tricks. The musicians began to play. The animal handlers considered bringing the elephants up from the river bank. But the people were not interested in thrills and marvels. They had just established contact with their ancestors, and it would shock more than elephants to bud such a thought from their minds. How did you know, cousin? Asked Sunswallow as they sat later, pasting paper of the tears in the kite. No, what? No, what the ancestors wanted to say. I didn't tell you. I thought you said. You wanted the medium, I thought. His cousin looked at him with her head on one side. Oh, son, because they certainly held back on your brains. So this was a story, Sunswallow. I hope you enjoyed it. It was in British accent. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.